morning, everyone. Richard Miller here, and welcome to Never Not Here. And lately I've been saying, please come often. So something about discussions somehow bring things to the light and make our own lives maybe a little more clear. And that's the theory of the show. And so then a lot of people are willing to talk. A lot of people go out and meet and have meetings and get involved. And so why not here too? You know, they can do it on our virtual connection here besides their real meetings. And then, oh, by the way, I mean, you can come too, so that we have a section called Open Mic, and anyone can really, we can discover among anyone. We've long been saying it's not a club of experts. And who's more expert on your life than you? And so today we're with Kali Ornelas. So welcome.
Hi, Richard.
Hello.
Hi. Great.
Sometimes I know about I know about your Osho background a little bit, but not too much. I'm not so curious about history, but I also sometimes I let it escape that I had an Osho background too.
Right, that's interesting. Yeah. A lot of people had an Osho background one way or the other.
Even just reading, because there were so many books and so on. Right.
Yeah. And still, there's so much out there now. I mean, so many.
One thing is because of my Osho background, I feel really close to other people that had that similar experience, and I feel so close that I'm really willing to hit them pretty hard. So I don't know whether that's a warning or what, but you gotta confess the truth, you really got to tell what the truth is, because you can't go on too many illusions,
Of course, he was a very controversial human being.
Yeah.
And really, the way I look at Osho is that I think he was here. He had a mission, no? He had a real vision. And he was here to try and raise consciousness in the whole world. I don't actually, this is my personal opinion, no? Don't actually think he was interested in individual enlightenment as such, no? But he talked so much, no? And he talked about so many topics, no? In so many different ways. And I think he did his job, actually.
Uh-huh.
I think he did he left some really good messages behind. I mean, today, as I go around talking, I hear so many people getting touched by, some of his books or things that he said. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's valid. He dedicated his life to it, and something did happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, in one way to look at it, is, of course, the individual enlightenment may be something that could exist or could be existential. Maybe it's here in individuals. Mass enlightenment or the good of the planet is totally a concept. It doesn't really exist at all, and so then we can entertain that. But that's not really an avenue to attack.
Yeah.
The only way you can get. Go ahead.
Yes. I meant more in the, different teachers or people that come around. They work in different ways. No, they work in smaller scales. Or I spend a lot of time with Ramesh. Ramesh Balsakar in Bombay. So I was there 4 years. So he works, in a more, a smaller scale. He would have one-to-one conversations with people that would come visiting. So it's just a different scope of working.
Yeah. So I know what you mean by that. Actually, I had a good luck. I did get to see Ramesh once. I even did an interview with him.
Great.
A couple of years ago. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. He's another very beautiful human being. I feel very fortunate for having met, some of these people while they were in the body.
Right.
I think it's for me, it was just a great part of the journey, and I'm just incredibly grateful to them all the ones I met, and even the ones I haven't met because they were already gone. So there's a lot of gratitude for those that come around, and I don't know. I just remember now when I started this whole thing for myself was like, I felt there's got to be something more. There's got to be some other way of living this life rather than in the, terrible misery and suffering that I found myself in. And when I found these people or when I read something from them, it's just like a resonance, It's just something like, oh, this feels good. I'm not alone here, kind of just, imagining that there must be something there. So it's like a kind of companionship or friendship. And yeah, yeah, it's just beautiful.
That's very well put, like a friendship, That's kind of
Mm.
really well put. And
Mm.
that's a good way to look at it. I think that's even, I mean, sometimes we can imagine different stories. Like it could be this way, it could be that way. This guy was doing this guy was doing that way. But I mean, whether they're true or not. But I mean, different stories also give a different kind of a feeling to the storyteller, to me. And
Yeah.
some of them kind of, let's say, are very. Well, some of them could be counterproductive, let's say, whatever production means, it just means like it makes you feel worse, And some of them could somehow really allow you to soften more. And just the story I'm talking about. And so that's a really,
Yeah.
Just the gratitude is a great story. It's a story that really allows you to soften, and the softening is more inclusive. Inclusive is more maybe... it works better in the world, for you
Yeah.
and for others.
Yeah, I remember I used to have heated discussions, a few, not many, because it kind of got cut off, with Ramesh about what I used to label as false gurus, no, false teachers. No, they don't know what they're talking about, and they're not awakened themselves, and they're pretending, And he was kind of a bit patient with me to a point, and I said, Kali, the world needs false gurus. And as long as the world needs false gurus, there will be false gurus. It's kind of hard to accept.
No, yeah, it's good.
But and then what is a false guru? I really not know. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Anymore.
Okay. How about this one? How about this one? What is a real What is a real guru?
Yeah, exactly. What's a real teacher? If
supposedly,
some people been,
supposedly life is your real teacher, and all the pitfalls of life are the real teacher. Supposedly, I mean, that's the one that's here every second, and that we're denying and saying, no, that's not a teacher. Let me go get a real teacher, because life is a false teacher.
Yes, I'm with you, but I feel also that if life is approached from a state of a highly conditioned mind, then we can miss a lot of, let's say, lessons. No, if the teaching implies giving you something to understand, we can miss a lot because we just fall into habitual behaviors and just become automatic pilot. No? And then I am not sure if life can be so conducive, no, to a state of beingness, no? If it's approached from that conditioned space that we feel we actually have no choice. No? I was recently, just before I was talking to you, I was giving a session to a 25-year-old, no, a male. And he said to me, I don't feel like I have a choice over this. This is what I do. This is always what I do. I mean, how can I get out of that? So I think this kind of inquiry is important. Self-inquiry, no? To look, okay, I'm approaching life. I am not in a state of that I feel okay with myself, really, or okay with the people that I'm relating. No? So I think self-inquiry is important. And I agree with you. Yes, life is a great teacher. Life, people, everything that you meet.
Maybe it has something to do with, the way we operate is so much by imitation. We imitate those around us and who we grew up with, and that's kind of like what they're saying is, the generations, the heritage from the generations. Somehow we imitate, what everyone else is imitating. And so then until we get around those people that are a little more free and open, then they can take life with a grain of salt or something like that. and then we can
Yeah.
imitate them,
Well,
And
hopefully not.
life itself is kind of neutral, It just
Yeah.
it's presenting all
Yeah.
these things that you can take in a myriad of ways. And so, I mean, that myriad is like you can learn anything from life. And
Hopefully it can be a cut-off system, a cut-off process that you don't, when you meet someone, you think, it's, I don't know, somewhere where you're not, that the imitation process doesn't continue, because hopefully something before brings an understanding or on what the first impulse to imitate come from.
Okay, let me expand on that, because I don't think I got that across, or maybe I'm only understanding it myself. So let me tell myself.
Yeah, no, go
Because
ahead.
okay, like imitation is not only just like monkey see, monkey do, but imitation is also a feeling. So imitation is what the high and mighty call resonance. Resonance. You imitate resonance too, or you imitate a feeling, or just like an openness, or like a peacefulness. You imitate that too, and so then I would say that was good, not something that was limited. And that's actually how humanity is. Yeah, that's what they call, cosmic consciousness or something like that, or just that field. You fall into a field and you fall in sync with it, and that's what I meant by imitation.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It
The,
is
the,
nice to
yeah,
resonate.
yeah, the collective
With a few.
consciousness, the collective
Yeah,
consciousness. Yeah. So
yeah,
then that's it,
yeah.
And if the collective consciousness was different, where everyone was open, of course, everyone would just be born into openness, and then everyone would be open as they grew too, and we would all be open and inclusive, and just feeling each other and feeling ourselves, and allowing ourselves to be as we are. I mean, it would just be utopia.
Yes. Yes, yes. Unfortunately, not there. Again, part of this Leela, not part of this play. No.
Yeah. So, but we take this Leela like it's so important, and so really kind of like such an obstacle, and we have to really work our way through it, But let me set up.
We have a tendency to take it very seriously. Yes,
Yeah,
you're right.
right. We take it too seriously. I mean, let's just
Yeah.
step for a second. Let me just paint a picture and step back a little bit and say, like, okay, it doesn't take a metaphysical genius or a giant to really know that now is when things happen. I mean, now I can do stuff, but yesterday I can't do anything. I can't fix yesterday. I can't go back there. I forgot to say something last Thursday. I can't go back and say it. It's just totally and completely dead. Yesterday is dead. And it doesn't take a metaphysical genius to really see that. I mean, there's something vitally different between yesterday and today. Not even today, this moment. I mean, this moment, everything can happen, And we can say, no, everything can happen tomorrow. But that's not necessarily true, because nothing can happen tomorrow either. It only can happen when tomorrow is today. And how could it be postponed like that? The only way it could be postponed if we only operate from a fixed premise, and we're totally fixed, and we make rules and we only follow those rules in the moment. And then that would mean preconditioned, in other words. In other words, if I can make a new rule up now, then tomorrow I can obey that rule when I find that situation. But I mean, if we were just totally open and spontaneous, I mean, now is the only moment that has any life in it. Really, isn't that easy to see? I mean, does it take a genius to figure that out?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
I mean, the man on the street.
That I like.
Yeah, the man on the street knows that, right?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead with the man on the street.
No, he knows that. You don't need to be a seeker. What were you saying? A word you liked?
Spontaneity.
Oh yeah, right on.
Yeah, because I find it really interesting to see what interrupts that, what stops that. Sometimes people ask me, can you tell if somebody's awakened or enlightened, whatever? So no, I can't. But I can tell if he or she is not. Because there is something that it's not spontaneous, it's not flowing. There's like, it's like, you're trying to get a car to go, and it stops, starts, stops. There's no gas, and it's just, you keep changing gears, and you can see that there is a something that is like in just not being here, like what you just said. Something that takes the mind somewhere, in the past, or projections into the future, something. So spontaneity is a good, for me, sign of this ability of being now and understanding what you just said.
Yeah, but
That
I
the
mean,
past is
it's just
dead and
easy
the
as pie.
future
If you
never
just take
happened.
if you just take a look, it's easy as pie to see if someone's in their body or out of it. I mean, you don't have to be a genius for that either. I mean, you might have to have to call to notice. Hey, just notice that guy ain't here at all. And then you'll say, oh yeah, right, I can see that too. You don't have to be any kind of special powers or any kind of like intuitive or a psycho or no, I didn't mean a psycho. I mean whatever. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think, you know what, one of the great things that I see, because I finally managed to have a look at some of the interviews that you did, because I, got onto a better internet connection. And it's just really, we were talking about Osho before. Osho sat on a podium and we were all down there, watching him and listening to him. And just the normality, of people that somehow shift or moved to an interesting, accepting space of what life is or what they are, or whatever you want to call this. It's something quite simple. There is no spiritual Superman, Superwoman, superpowers involved. And I really like to see that this is getting more spread over. Not just to demystify a little bit this spirituality with being a guru and sitting somewhere and everybody listening to you and you know everything and you just tell how it is.
Yeah, I mean,
I like the way it's going.
A lot of people get in. I mean, I guess a lot of teachers might get involved in. Maybe they never say that they're special. In fact, they say lots of times that they're not special. But they allow, I'm not only saying Osho, maybe a lot of people, but they somehow, it's easy enough to see that the people that come to them think that they're special, really special, and they don't diffuse that. Somehow maybe they've done everything they can. They say, look, I'm not special, I'm not special, I'm not special. That's all they can do, maybe. Or maybe there's some other way to do it. I don't know what. But
it's a bit like falling in love, isn't it? When you fall in love with somebody, in the initial phase, you think, oh, this person is so special. No, they have something I don't have or I want. Like this kind of there's a love affair involved into this. But I think if the teaching or the teaching or the teacher, whatever you want to call, if it's integral. Now, slowly, if the person stays around, this initial projection starts to die off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the falling in love, because I've even heard gurus say, okay, maybe bhakti is a very strong route, but it's too dangerous for you guys. So I'm not even going to do anything with bhakti, And then people would go down to touch his feet or something. He'd shoo them off, or he'd just go back into an intellectual discussion, just say, no, that's not right for this moment. And so then that, that could be a way that it could get diffused also.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Let me go back and say a couple of things, because I was just kind of building a scenario there that I said about anyone can really figure out that this is the PowerPoint. Only now is even 1 second ago is not a PowerPoint. Only now is when everything gets done. And how it gets postponed for tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe there's a mechanism where we don't really operate spontaneously. We don't trust our spontaneity. So then we have to go with rules. So then maybe it's a long process to make the right rules that are kind of open, that will allow change to happen in some now that's later, and that's what we're all hoping for, because we're all hoping that if I keep going to these meetings, I know it'll be now when I get enlightened, but not this now, please. This is not it,
But that's interesting, no?
Yeah.
What comes up with this question, not this now?
Yeah, well, it's just an expectation that it wouldn't look like this. It wouldn't look like this. It would look some other way, and somebody hasn't really kicked the slats out of their expectation. Expectation, all that is it's a quick word to say the knowledge. They've got knowledge, and so that their knowledge isn't here now. And so then it's got to be later. I guess it's just coming around the corner.
Yeah, and I think there's two folds to this, or probably more, but it's like you hear all these stories of how it's supposed to happen, or how it happens for this person, and that person. And then if something starts to shift or grow or adjust inside of you, and then you immediately start go, well, but that's less, that's more, it's not supposed to be like this is a bit weird. Yeah, so there is a comparison uh, that comes up. It's natural. It's part of human conditioning. If you're looking for something, which you all are, why do you start this journey? You're looking for something. You want something that is not quite here right now, and you're not satisfied with what's quite here right now, so you start searching. And in that search, comparison comes up. And so I think it's very interesting to notice if something starts to, you say you go to all these meetings and something starts to happen inside of you, and you go, whoa, yes, it could happen in a moment, but this moment is not, it's not it. It can't be it. No? So this kind of this eternal postponement to just, hey, this is it. It doesn't. It's as good as it
gets. Right. So then, okay, let's say that we just come from another planet or something like that, and we know too that now is the active moment, and yesterday and tomorrow are dead as a doornail. So then, isn't it puzzling how like we're all conditioned, and like it's so important that we were abused as a child, and that our parents were mean to us, and we had to grow up in a labor camp or something like that, and all those things, and then somehow we totally believe that we're wounded by that, and that conditioning actually can take up our whole life, like decade after decade after decade, 6, 7, 8 decades. Let's just say we're conditioned and we're the same. We have the same, let's say, personality traits or the same solutions to problems based on conditioning, which has been dead. It's totally dead. There's no life in that conditioning whatsoever. It's totally flat, and there's not a puff of air in it. It's just the zeroest thing that could be zero, and yet we can base 8 decades on it, just like nothing flat. And then our main concern is all about tomorrow, because like tomorrow is where we park all our fears. Every fear is just like totally flat, dead, zero, and yet we've got these sciences about woundology and, conditioning and traumatized and all that stuff that is totally flat, zero. I just want to say it's in the most maximum term that I can say, that all that conditioning is just totally 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. It couldn't be more zero than that. There's nothing there, and the only life is right here, right now, and there's absolutely none of that conditioning here right now. There's no fear right here now. There's absolutely nothing here right now. And it's obvious for everyone that that's the case, but yet we somehow play up to that, all those wounds and that trauma, and say that that's so important, and we're going to just put our life into fixing that.
I like it to just consider one thing, because what I'm hearing from you is that there has been a journey behind to come to this certainty that you're expressing right now. Yeah. That this conditioning is really zero. There is nothing real in it.
Now I'm just coming from Mars, and I'm just coming from Mars and noticing, and that's why I'm so animated, because it's just so puzzling,
Right. But yes, okay. You're coming from Mars.
From planet Earth, I'm totally into it. I'm in the soup thick as can be.
Yeah. So are we talking to Martians or to Earthians? Let's just get it straight. Because really, it's like people living on this planet here that have suffered these apparent traumas, these apparent wounds, and are still caught up in it. These are the people we're talking to. Because it's all great and good to go, your conditioning has no power, it doesn't exist, and just to wake up and be here and stop this illusion.
Somehow that has to be the real seat of what we're talking about, because if we're taking these things and making an entity out of them, and then say, no, this is a boogeyman, and we're going to really whip it. We've got all kinds of skills and all kinds of practices and all kinds of stuff. Somehow there has to be a preamble. Everything we do has to be saying now we're going to attack nothing. I don't know. That's what I think. I don't know. I mean, it's up to you.
No, but it's right. But it is like, okay, so if you go, because all this conditioning doesn't exist, it doesn't have any speck of truth in it. Nothing. Wake up, just be here now.
Well, that's intellectual, right? That's an intellectual part of it. That's the intellectual part of it.
How do I do this? How do I drop this idea that I am me and my story is me and everything that happened to me was with me and I'm still suffering because my husband left me? It's all about me.
Well, I can think of some ways. Actually, I can think of some ways that are very rare that not too many people really go into. Mm-hmm. I could actually tell you a few.
Yes.
All righty. I mean, for instance, a thought arises, and that thought has a feeling in it, or a feeling arises and that feeling has a thought in it. I don't think it matters which is first, the chicken or the egg, because I don't think there's any chickens without any eggs, and there's no eggs without any chickens, so it's the one thing.
Right.
So the thought feeling is one thing.
Right.
And somehow there's an interest in that thought and that feeling, which means it's a nice one and I want to go after it, or it means it's a terrible one and I want to avoid it. And so that's an interest too.
And the thoughts arises in what? In who? What is this thought coming from?
Well, that's an abstraction.
But it is. But
it is an abstraction, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. But everything is abstract, Richard. No.
No, it isn't.
Everything.
A thought comes up and a feeling comes up, and it's not really abstract. A feeling is happening, and it doesn't need any abstraction. So that feeling.
If we're talking about this difficulty that I actually see in a lot of people of, okay, I understand my conditioning should have no validity in playing out any role in how I live my life, but I am caught in it. I don't know what to do.
No, I'm about to say it. I'm getting there.
All right.
So anyhow, then this thought feeling thing comes up, right? And then there's an interest in it, see? And then the interest is kind of automatic from that, and that's the conditioning part. What's interesting and what is not interesting is kind of like you're used to following that thought. And so then the greatest temptation, and it happens unconsciously, is that you're following that thought and going with it. And
yes.
you're turning it over and rethinking it from this way and from that way, and you're kind of like stewing in this feeling, cooking in it, and saying, oh, this is really the terrible feeling, and I don't want this at all, and you're really going with it, In other words, this stuff appears on the screen of consciousness, and then there's this thing called interest and temptation, and you go with it, and it's your conditioning, and it's the way you handle problems normally and stuff like that. Yeah. And so then it's repetitive personality traits, you could call it, That's
in other words, is that what you're saying, that if we can then notice that this thought that is arising is appearing on the screen of consciousness, then we have a choice of getting out of this idea that we caught up in our conditioning.
No. Well, I mean, kind of like that, I guess. I mean, your choice is to follow it, is to not follow it. Don't follow it, even though you're totally interested in it. Don't follow it. Do you have to follow it? That's the experiment. Because thoughts come up from all over, because they call it the mass conditioning, like we're in the crowd mentality, and somehow we're again, like we're imitating, but in other words, we could say in a higher form of words is we're resonating with it, or we're just in the communal soup. And, that comes up automatically. Now, I mean, if we have any free will whatsoever, it would be like, we don't have to follow that, we just don't have to follow it. And then that's freedom, because, it comes up in a free person that they're not interested in following it. And so then you can look at your interest too. And so in other words, I'm just saying okay, there's this screen and this thought comes up. And then when you can play with those thoughts and play with those images, and then, the skill to learn is like, just clear the screen. It's just really easy as that. And if you teach that, teach how to clear the screen, and then you don't have to worry about any solving any of the images that are on the screen, and resolving them. And just say, okay, that one's fun for a while, now let's just see what else comes up. We don't need to keep going on this conversation like we're having it.
Yeah.
Because
so
then
yes.
Well, that's kind of a trust that what you need comes. It just comes up. Right.
Yeah. What you're describing then is a little bit like meditation in action, meditation in life. Because when there is a practice of meditation, this is ideally what we would be sitting there with our eyes open or closed, not doing this, watching one coming, going, not getting caught on this one, on that one. Okay, so another one, it came from there, it goes to there, and it has nothing to do with me, and it just keeps on going. So what are you describing then? To me, it sounds like it's bringing a process, a meditative process to life as you interact with people, as you live your normal life, go to work, decide what to do on that day, decide what presents you're going to buy for Christmas, that you just watch that arising and without the least involvement. It does create a little bit of an issue when you involved and when you're relating. I actually find that the more I'm living, the more I'm saying that a lot of people get to a stage where what you just described is quite possible. When they're by themselves, or when they're sitting, or when they're in satsang with a teacher that they like. But as they start to interact in life with their loved ones or the ones that are not so loved, this process becomes quite difficult because the involvement is really quick. There isn't this like, whoa, this is a thought, I don't have to act on it. Yeah, I can just, wait for the next one and see which one feels okay to respond.
Well, I mean, you could get lost in it. You get lost in life, sure, why not, But then, you recover pretty quick, too. You can recover, especially if you have the definition that you can recover pretty quick. If you got a definition that says I'm conditioned to the hilt, and I'm one of the worst. And then that definition really knocks you for a loop.
Yeah, but for me, this process of trying to bring yourself to the moment, it comes up for me again and again. It's a trying. It implies that something is happening right here, right now that I don't want. I want to be different. I want to react different. I want one of my thoughts. I don't want to do this. I don't want to say that. No. So there is a shift that happens where all this happens without any rules, without any trying. It's a happening. And when it happens, you watch it happen as if it's like a movie. Yeah, I'm here, today I did this, tomorrow I do that, and I have no idea what I'm going to do the after tomorrow. Same situation may come up, and the reaction, the spontaneous response out of, what comes out of you, it can be something completely different. We can't predict. There's no rules. Now I find it a little, and it is a temptation because what to do? We are in a search. We are searching. So there is a temptation to go, what's the route to follow? What can I do to help that state to be present? Because I want that state. I want to be in that state. And that's why I go and watch all these people talking and go to retreats and do my meditation and my practice. I want it for me. Yeah? So I want to do something about it.
Yeah, right. But I mean, you got to be really clear on what is it, that I want it, and especially when you're telling people, when you're teaching to people or, presenting or pointing or however you want to say it. Because it is not it. There is no it, I mean, it is just what's happening, It's all the hell. It's all the hell,
Yeah, but I love something that, Ramesh used to ask to people coming to visit him. And normally people in a gap, It was very simple. He said, what it is that you're looking for that you don't have right now. Very simple.
Well, they give a long list, right?
It's very interesting because, if it gets real, and we look at a little bit in the depth of this, a lot of this search has to do with looking for a permanent state of something. Yeah. Because you can't say you don't have happiness in your life. Happiness is present at some time, at some point, but it comes and goes. Yeah. Or a sense of contentment with yourself, or what now, we're talking about now. There is a lot of nows, moments in the now that you're pretty happy and things are pretty good. And there is no, a lot of thoughts about the past or the future. You're just here enjoying yourself. Just being you, whoever you are. But there is this temptation of wanting that beautiful space of being the now to stay there forever, always. Sense of contentment, the sense of happiness. So any emotion that arises, or any feelings that arise, or any thought that arise that are negative or put you in a bit of state of uncomfortability, so that you start saying no. And then the search can go on forever, because as long as as far as I'm concerned, as long as there's a body, mind, organism living on this planet, there will be all kinds of things arising. It's how you be with it, stay with it, open for it, just accept what is there. Yeah. And that's the difference for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Well,
the
I mean,
search can go on
that's
forever.
definitely clear. I mean, that's definitely clear because if anything has to be a certain way, I mean, that is really the only bondage, right? But freedom has got to be freedom in every situation. Like, you know, you have freedom in prison, freedom in the cancer ward, freedom in death row, freedom 2 steps away from the gallows. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
freedom is doesn't matter on the situation, and
No, it doesn't. No,
so
no,
then,
no.
I mean, that can be stated again and again. I guess it is stated, but still, people don't believe it. They just think, oh no, the freedom is when I feel totally open and totally air, you know, and totally spacious and totally creative, and
Yeah,
I feel like and my body is full of energy, and I feel like dancing, and I have no aches and pains, and there's a music coming out of my soul, and actually my vocal cords can reflect it perfectly, and I sing better than I ever used to. I used to never carry a tune, and now I'm a genius, you know. I'm Mozart. But I mean, all these things. I mean, the teacher has to say right away that is all bogus, you know, totally bogus. You know, and if you want
yeah,
that, get lost, you know, go away from me. They should just say, if that's what you want, go find it in the toilet somewhere.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, the freedom again is another interesting concept for me. There was a time where I kept changing the words. No, in the search, I kept changing, getting kind of clever with before. Because of course, you know, I was my teachers and I was, you know, following their advices, you know, and I was kind of like, okay, what am I looking for? What is it that is not here and I still want? Yeah? And at one point in the journey was this word freedom. It was pretty complicated when I was stuck on that word for me. But when I observe what is happening now, it's actually there's what God, it's a relaxation that whatever arises from the screen of consciousness that you said a little bit before is exactly what has to. It can't possibly be any different. So in that, there is no more, you know, shall I do it this way? Shall I do it that way? Is this right what's coming my way, or is this wrong? Have I said the wrong thing, you know, in this teaching today? Or is this person behaving weird? What do they want from me? All these disappears. So it's actually not a belief. So he said people don't believe in it. It's not a belief, it's an experience. And when you and that experience is interesting because it can grow in you. And because I'm seeing that in many people. It can actually start to grow in you when you attune to that. It's not a lot of trying involved. There's not a lot of effort in it. It's just really there's an attunement to going, oh, that's interesting. There's another thing arise in this screen of consciousness. I'm using your words, yeah. And here I am, and wow, could it be any different? Really, could it be any different? If you think,
you know, I think you can even go before that, you know, because some people say
okay,
everything you get is perfect, you know, and then now you're saying it a little softer, like could it be any different? Because it's what it is basically, and then what is anything different isn't. I mean, that's clear. I mean, if you say could it be anything different is a thought about how, you know, it's about tomorrow or like why not today. Different is just
and here's another
an
interesting thing that I
abstraction,
really,
basically.
yeah, but here's another interesting thing that I really like to ponder, you know, put it out there a little bit. For every single thing to happen, for every event to happen, every, you know, this meeting that we have here now, you and me talking, how many things, how many events had to take place for this meeting to happen? Where you and I had no idea this was being constructed. I had zero idea I'll be talking to you today. He's like a week ago. Yeah. So and then it's an interesting aspect to look for me because it's like, wow, if this moment here has been constructed completely outside of my control, yeah, and who am I to even think I can control this now? or this has anything to do with me.
Yeah, that's a good Ramesh teaching, right? Ramesh is that's him coming through strong,
It
right?
makes sense, but it really makes
Absolutely
sense.
makes sense. I mean, once you start to say yes more often, then you realize that so many rich things happen in life that you never could have constructed. If you're still used to saying no a lot, then you never get the experience, and you're just still the doer. Because
Yeah,
the things that you're doing is actually not doing. I mean, you're saying no to this, no to that, no time for this. Oh, I got appointments here. No, 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 no. And once you
yeah,
start to say yes, I think that's when you really see that you're not really doing anything.
yeah, yeah. And that yes, I mean yes, I'm totally with you. And that yes, I think it has a lot to do with this seeing that is conditioned, just to kind of tie in things a little bit, see if we can, that this conditioning that runs through that we think we have no choice, that there is no other way but being this automatic pilot, doing the same things you did when you're 7 years old, just with a bit more sophisticated format. But there is, it's just, it's there. The process of ego formation, it seems to be part of what is supposed to happen. Because yes, it would be so great if we don't have to have an ego or a personality structure. Now, if we could come here on this planet and have ideal parents and ideal school and ideal schoolmates and ideal etc etc etc, and we wouldn't have to defend ourselves and somehow shut down and start
Yeah. But I
protecting
mean,
and create all of this.
why wouldn't we still be growing? When we were ideal, we still would be growing, right? And so then it wouldn't be ideal.
Absolutely, yeah, no,
It wouldn't be ideal
yeah,
either, because if you take the parents that the most perfect parents you can imagine, and let's say
yeah,
you grew up under that scenario, and you would be
yeah,
growing from there on, and so they would
yeah,
be terrible for you too, Why would it be any different,
yeah.
Let me go
No,
back
I
just a
love what you
second.
said. I love
Yeah.
what you said, because that's the other thing that I'm noticing also now is the growth that never stops. And I'm fascinated with that at the moment. To just really notice that there isn't this state of awakeness or relaxation or acceptance or whatever, freedom, yeah, and then it's static and it's there and you're there and nothing else happens. Yeah? And you're always there. It's beautiful to see that it doesn't stop.
There's no destination,
Fascinating.
There's no destination. One good way to find out about a destination is I was listening to a science program about absolute zero, which is like 0 degrees Kelvin or minus 273 degrees centigrade. Kelvin and centigrade degrees are the same. But anyhow, what it would posit, absolute zero, is that there's no movement whatsoever, because any vibration is what is called temperature. And they're finding like the same distance between 1 degree and one thousandth of 1 degree is the same distance as between 1 degree and 1,000 degrees. And 1,000th of a degree and 1,000,000th of a degree is the same distance. I mean, in other words, it's like, what do you call it? It's exponential. Where,
Right.
I mean, you're never going to get to absolute zero, and it's just as difficult to go a couple of zero places anywhere along the line. In other words, saying, and we're positing something called an enlightenment, but there's no destination called enlightenment, and there's
There
no,
is no.
the distance is the same as between like 99.999% enlightenment and getting a little closer is the same as from minus 100 and going to the plus 30. It's a
So
huge
what you're saying, what you're also saying from what you heard or read, I'm sorry, I forgot if you heard or read, but so there's constant movement.
Yeah, I mean,
It doesn't stop.
there can be no place where in the whole space and everything where there's nothing happening. Like, and
Yeah.
that's just talking about zero. Okay, well, let's just talk about silence or like peace or like there's no place where there's peace or, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just a metaphor. That's a metaphor about manifest. Let me just go back a sec though, because I want
Yeah.
to. One
Sure.
thing you said was really cool was just relaxing into something, and then you were talked about attunement. And I just and instead of relaxing like a job to do, you would just be attuned, and relaxing would just allow what came up to come up, and I would call that relaxing kind of like a metaphor for wholeness. And the more whole you feel, and there's nothing needed, so then you don't have to go out anywhere and look for stuff. You can as a game, and and you don't have to. So then there's no like pressure against this moment, like to say that no, it's not complete here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So what
yeah.
is this wholeness? I mean, can you attune to wholeness? How would you attune to wholeness? I mean,
It's just so easy. I mean, it's like, how can you not?
I like it.
It's like, no,
Yeah.
like it's like, like right now, like just everything that just happened right now. Now you smile, you shifted a little bit, what I mean. I look at you, you got this green curtains, and all this, is wholeness. And how can we not attune to it? All our senses are involved in it. The minute we are awake in the morning, you get up, you open your eyes, and you look around. Whether you know it or not, it doesn't matter. It's right there. The whole thing is available to you. It's actually work to not be attuned to it. It's right there. I mean, everything. It's so tangible, and we have such an amazing mechanism. This body. Everybody's talking about the body now and coming back to the body. Great. I'm happy to hear that, because the body is this alive mechanism, pumping blood all the time, breathing for you. It's all here, and all here. It's actually pretty hard not to be attuned to this wholeness that was made for us, and we're just enjoying it.
Right. I mean, it's an expectation again, because wholeness, I guess we figure that it's supposed to look different, or the boundaries are supposed to dissolve. But I mean, I think like when I was saying before, there's chickens and eggs, and it's the same thing, a chicken and an egg, because there's no way you can have a chicken without an egg, no way you can have an egg without a chicken. In this case, so then it's everything should look just the way it is, and just see the unity in it. I mean, and somehow it's a inclusiveness, but it's not a practice really. It's that you can somehow be more inclusive. Somehow inclusiveness is just a seeing that we are this. This. Okay.
Yeah, we are this, and that's beautiful. Before I was like, I am that.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. I am that. No, screw right. That.
This is it. This simplicity, this conversation, this light, this body, this smile that comes up spontaneously, and it's just, I mean, isn't it? I think it's just fascinating. I'm fascinated by the process of discovery of this isness. Because I do. I mean, I am guilty of having spent 90% of, let's call this journey on that. Really worried about that, and how do I get there, and how these people that I am that got there, and did the whole thing. And I think it's part of it. Can't judge it, can't change it. I think it's part of the process. But this isness here is so lovely, so yummy. It's like it's delicious. You just like eating a nice meal, every minute, all the time. It's just, and it's so available. It's so rich. It's just yummy. Yeah.
I know you like it because you're really getting animated now. You're really liking it.
It's interesting because I was listening to myself right there and going, oh, this is interesting, coming from a person where most of the journey was fascinated with death. I was fascinated with death. I wanted to, the whole death thing, detachment, and going beyond. It was for me where it was at, in that beyondness of something that is beyond this. It implied some kind of a little subtle judgment, the life on the planet, and just being an ordinary human woman. Yeah, it wasn't good enough. So it's interesting when I feel this, you're right, I feel this, there is a little, excitement about being here now. Just being here now. It's just so, again, gratitude comes up because I just feel so grateful for someone that actually spent most of the time, and I also noticed that in a lot of spiritual seekers, most of the time somewhere out there, wanting something out there or looking for someone that tells what's there. And not here. And again, we can't make it happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We can notice
I'm looking for the button.
Yeah.
If there's a button we can push and make it happen, for people, I wish I could find the button. I would distribute the button.
Well, we got to tell it like it is, We got to tell it like it is. Because, I'd say early teachings were all about I am that, and then they were pushing us away. And then even if they didn't mean that, somehow the handlers, like Osho's handlers, they dressed him all up and put him up on a couch and up high and stuff like that. I mean, it is definitely of that. I don't know if Ramesh probably brought you down a little bit in his living room and said, no, come here, be here in the living room. But I mean, it was a long time for all of us, right? That we were focused outward, and somehow the teachings didn't help it much. They really promoted that.
Don't know if I would agree with you that didn't help much. I think there's an evolution. There's something happening. I've been noticing this mainly for like more intensely in the last 2 years. That people are just getting stuff so much faster.
Yeah. Okay. So then that really is. That really tells you. That even tells you more because, okay, let's say that I'm in a certain generation, you're in one, but we took a long time. Okay, people are getting it faster, but they're getting it faster because they don't get involved in those earlier teachings that are all that focused. That's what I'm asking, I guess.
That could be. Yeah.
Because I love the young teachers, the ones that are in their 20s even. And then it's just so obvious, and they don't need any kind of like special gurus or anything, Oh, of course, what are you talking about,
Yeah. Well, I have a tendency to think that we're not here, doing our thing without a huge connectivity with what you called wholeness just before. So I sort of look at it as a movement, and more a movement in consciousness, no? That those teachings that were all about I am that, to the shift to what I am this, and it's all simple and everything. I see it as there's a build up to something here.
Oh yeah. Well, that's nice. That can make people feel good, Ride the wave, baby, ride the wave.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. I'm just noticing. No? I'm noticing this in the people that I talk in the retreats, and people that come and have sessions or a private retreat or something. It's just more. I was out there for 22 years. It's a long time, And I see people having understandings or realizations or coming to more of a space of okayness about certain aspects. No, maybe not the whole thing, but certain aspects of themselves and how life goes in with such a speed that I'm like, wow, this is great. This is fascinating. This is beautiful. I think people are fortunate. No? The ones that are starting their search now or jumping on, however you want to call it. I don't like to make this division of life and the spiritual searchers and seekers and,
No, but let me say this, let me say this because like in all facets of life, we're always standing on the shoulders of those that went before us. So then we're standing on the I am thaters, of course we are. And so then it's all part of it.
Yeah.
One way to say it is.
Okay, you think we are very, we have a big difference in age here, but I don't think so. I'm 47, and you don't look much older.
Yeah, well, I'm tricking you because I'm another generation.
Yeah, but there is this. Okay, let's say I'm from the generation of I am that.
No, I am. Suddenly, I am. You're in between. You're not. You're somewhere
I'm
else.
In between.
Yeah.
Okay. That could be. But okay, the beautiful thing is that I am this is arriving.
Yeah. No, I like it. Here's one for you. You just say the world's a mirror. And so then if it appears that everybody is waking up, then that must mean I'm waking up, right? Take it like that.
That's a nice concept, yes.
Or vice versa. I'm waking up, and so everybody else is waking up. The world's a mirror, That's a nice one to say. I mean, it doesn't have to be a belief. It's just like a nice tool to play with.
Yeah, yeah. There's a noticing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I find it like, 3 years ago, if people would tell me about this wave that is happening in the world and everything, and I was like, yeah, wishful thinking. Yeah? But then somehow I started to notice something is happening. Yeah? It's getting too common for it to just be a coincidence. Yeah? That people
Yeah,
start
yeah, yeah.
working or doing self-inquiry, and just, quite soon they're coming up with this understanding and telling me things that are going, wow, how did it get there so fast? What happened? Tell me.
That's cool, Yeah, we don't have to. That's the last thing we have to do is kind of put our path on anyone. At least I know that for sure. Let me say this. I don't know. I was going to kind of jump on this, but I guess I'll do it anyhow. Then I decided not to because it was kind of like where you were, I think. But I mean, I was kind of like baffled by Puna too. Because like, how could people? They just totally didn't get it. They ran back and built another community, and said, "Oh, let's hide in this enclave, and we'll be all protected and have a beautiful." And I don't know. Somehow, I just got it. The world was my community, and from Puna 1 to Puna 2 to the ranch, and I don't know what happened in Puna 2. You were there, so I guess I have to kind of just let you say it.
The way I see it is not so different from what actually happens in the world with non-seekers, even that gets caught on a period in their lives where they experienced a lot of, goodness and happiness and contentment. And they just want to go back there. And they will do anything. And they start to live in the past. That's quite common. I told you I'm staying with a friend right now. And then I can see across the world, and I can just the road, and I can see the neighbor, landlord, whatever. There is something that is, looks like 1980s. Yeah, there's something. There's something, but this is what I noticed. No? Yes, I was there in Pune too, and I noticed a lot of people that had such an amazing time and such an openness. No? At the time that the whole movement around Osho started, that they just wanted to go back there. They just wanted to keep experiencing that initial openness. So yes, and maybe they just tried, and some of them are getting out 20 years later. Okay, this isn't working anymore. Maybe I have to move on and do something else in my life. Yeah, but I don't see it very different than what, if anybody does it. It's a time in their lives which was wonderful, and you want to go back there. Some people get married once and they have one divorce, and that was it. The rest of their lives, they talk about that husband or that wife, and they can't fall in love again, and the whole thing got caught up in those 10 or 15 or 20 years that they live together. Life stops.
Yeah, I think that was the way it was with Osho, at least for me, it was for a long time, over 15 years. That was my only marriage, and I couldn't really conceive of another one, And then it just came to me that was a huge arrogance. And then I kind of softened on it and thought that it took even longer. It took a good longer time to really reconnect for me, even probably 25 years. It was amazing.
Right.
I mean, he was a dead stopper to me. He was like a dead stopper. Boom! He blew me open, and then he just stopped me right there in midair, somehow. And whether he did it or I did it to myself, that's just the way I took it.
It happened, no? It happened. So what really means is it had, he had a huge impact on you. And what is to say, Richard, really, that this time that you look at, I was there and I didn't move, that something wasn't processing and cooking and, getting you ready for the next openness that's going to have another huge impact.
No? Yeah, but you don't need that story, you don't need that story. You can have just as good a story as like it was like 15 years hiatus. And I won't let it happen again, like those guys that are all about the Holocaust, Oh, that was the Holocaust, the 15-year Holocaust. I'll never forget, Don't do that again.
Sometimes gaps are important. I really, honestly, I really feel this.
Well, I believe in winter. Sometimes it's winter now, Let the snow come,
It seems like nothing is happening, and you're kind of stuck there, and movements are not happening. I mean, I notice a lot I work a lot with beginners. Mm-hmm. Let's
Beautiful,
say people
beautiful.
that are, that are interested in finding out what else is out there, but they don't have a lot of spiritual conditioning. Yeah. So it's interesting to work with that. But I like it. I like I welcome everybody that shows up, whatever they want to show up. But to see that is like, and in the beginning there is this openness, like this impact that you said that Osho had on you. There is this huge, like, oh my God, the world suddenly starts to look completely different. And there's a new vibe around here. There's something else going on. Yeah? But that has a tendency, as you continue the journey, to slow down. And it's not so bad, actually. It's something that I really see it as part of the field of understanding. Because if there is this incessant, like, I gotta get more. Now I'm stuck. And now this teacher is gone. And now who do I go next? What's the next message? What next book do I have to read? I have somebody I work with for a while, and he tortures me to recommend books. So I recommend him books. And by the time he's like on the 10 last pages of this one, he goes, what's next, Kali? What's the next book? It's like, yeah, it can go on. Sometimes it's just nice to, hey, let's just, let it settle. It's a lot being sown, There's a lot of seeds being sown out there.
What about this, though? Like when we talked
Yes.
before, because we said, okay, we're into discussion. It's all beautiful and everything. But let's just clear the screens and let's start over again. So he doesn't want, you haven't told him, clear the screen now. Okay, all those books, throw them in the trash, at least in your head, throw them in the trash and forget all that crap you read. That's not it. Zero.
Just believe me, I have. But it interests him, It interests him. And I am not here to really tell people what to do.
Well, that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, but really, if there's something, and I, using this person as an example, I did ask him at some point, so what do the books give you? He said, it inspires me to continue. The talks that we have inspires me to continue. The books inspires me to continue. So I'll read as many books as you want.
No, just tell him to stop reading and notice you're still inspired without reading any book. You're still, as long as you're reading books, you think you're being inspired by a book, but stop reading them now for 3 months.
That would be one way of approaching it, no? But if this person right now, in their journey, in the stage they are in, feels good about reading what's going on out there with different persons and different approaches and why not?
Well, it's a lot of poison in those books, There's a lot of poison because there's a preconception of how it's going to be, So many books are written like with a story, like it happened like this to me, or, this is the ultimate bliss, or all kinds of stuff that, then those expectations are all built up, and that's really
but then they need to sort out what's poison, what's not poison. Huh?
It's killer.
Because that goes to satsang. That goes to satsang too. There's a lot of people out there saying stuff that is like nearly plain rubbish. And then what do? Don't go, don't say, don't do, don't listen, don't read. You got to sort your stuff out in the journey. You go, okay, maybe he has to read books for another 3 years to come to his own conclusion. This is all rubbish. I don't want this anymore. It would be a lot more conducive to his own opening that he comes to that conclusion himself than I tell him, don't read any more books because it's all rubbish. He has to come to that.
Well, he'll have to come to it anyhow. Even if you tell him, he'll still read them, But I'm just saying that could be your contribution,
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how we got to that example there. Yeah.
Okay, let's go on. Let's shift gears. Let me shift gears. I'll lay another groundwork.
Yes.
Okay, because
this is having fun. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, this is really fun. Because I want to set the groundwork for, like what we said, is just relaxing into it and somehow being attuned. Those two words were really cool, And then let me just set up this one, like a lot of people say that this is a serious business and that you really got to desire enlightenment and you've got to put all your efforts toward it, and it's got to be the most important thing in the world. to you. It's got to be, you've got to be willing to die for it, because, and then they start saying that your ego will die for it and all that stuff. I don't know if you hear those teachings, or are those kind of like remote or like obsolete?
Of course, now they're still around.
And somehow that worked for somebody. In other words, that that whole anxiety bit, when it popped, somehow there was, what was left was what was here. In other words, they went the route of more and more pressure, tension, pain, pressure, tension, pain, and finally, for a while I thought all the stories of enlightenment were about people that failed. Even Osho failed. I think if you read his story, that he was doing all these meditations and stuff, and finally he just said, "This is garbage," and tossed it.
So what's your point?
The point is that is what might be called anxiety-based seeking. And there's a lot of anxiety in a lot of people, and they transfer it right over to their seeking. And so then I'm just saying that is not a way to relax into anything, And so then it's not a way to attune to wholeness either. And so that is actually one of the biggest poisons, is anxiety-based seeking, as far as being totally counterproductive.
Yes. So it is, it's quite right. Now, it is good to remind whoever you're talking to, and in a way, it is what you're doing with all the people on your show and what you speak, that it's about here, it's not there. If we bring the same anxiety-driven mind, success-oriented, let's just get somewhere into the search, it might be counterproductive.
I mean, you might go to those, you'll have a certain amount of experiences, that we said. And then they'll go, of course, because they all go. And then, the anxiety can even build worse or better, depending on your point of view, more, get me more anxiety.
Yeah. It's interesting to notice, because it's very personal. It is not across the board. A lot of people also approach this journey with a more lazy perspective. That is more like, whoa, I'm not sure if I want, if I don't want, where do I go, how do I, how much do I do, how much more do I do I have to do any more? When we're talking about Ramesh again, some people would come to Ramesh without having done any search before, and I noticed and I observed, and it can get very easy, the intellectual concept, I don't have to do anything, I'll just sit at home and wait, because if I'm supposed to wake up, I will. Nothing here has to happen.
Well, I mean, the teacher doesn't necessarily want them to awaken or whatever either, just stay at home. That's fine. And just do nothing. Why not? Go really deeply into doing nothing, into what you call the boredom quotient. And you'll just start to feel, it's a fear. Boredom is like a fear that the sand is running through my fingers, the sand of life. There goes my life, Okay, there's 8 years, there's 10 years, there's 12. Nothing's happened, and that's the boredom quotient. Let that build, and then let that be your anxiety.
Yeah, but this is what I was saying, that I find it's really personal, because some people can take to this doing nothing, and then fall into this hole that you're talking about in an easy way, and some people are just hyperactive.
Okay, let me go again right away. Let me go right away, because no falling in no hole, because that's like an event. I'm just saying what you said is kind of like, number one, relaxing, and number two, what did you say, falling in sync, or just kind of attuning? You said attuning, so that's no hole. There's no hole there. There's no event. You won't know the difference between one day and the next. There's no happening. So if you're saying falling in a hole, of course they're looking for an event and a hole, and then there's an anxiety.
I was following that thought. I was following that thought of doing nothing. Yeah, and what is the fear of doing nothing? What happens when you actually sit there and do nothing?
You blank out basically. If you're in that fear and stuff, you blank out, because then otherwise, if it's not a beautiful nothing, then it's a blank nothing, right?
Yeah.
And
but it can be a numbness. No, it can be a blank. It can be a numbness, but Correct. It can also be a depth of being here, where there is nothing, where there's nothing going on. The opposite of what we were just talking about, and I got all like happy. The yumminess in
exactly. No, I mean, I would say that was first. That was first. The depth was first, and the numbness is is when it doesn't look good, you've gone to numbness instead. You're not willing to accept it, so you're not. Okay, I don't even want to say not willing, because it's like there's no volition in it. Somehow you're not. You don't have the capacity to hold that empty space. Somehow you don't have a capacity to. Maybe that's like yoga. Yoga is talking about the capacity of the body to hold an energy.
That in an ideal world, yes. Unfortunately, what's being played as yoga up there in the world today is a lot of doing. It's a lot of asanas, a lot of movement, a lot of getting the body in a certain shape.
No. But I'm just talking about what yoga really is. You and I know it,
yes.
So let's just talk about that. Who cares what the others are doing?
Yes. But you see, going back then to this relaxation of being here and attuning with what is, then we also then need to include all, no? What is good, what feels good, what doesn't feel so good, what feels sticky and I want to get away from.
No, wait a minute. Now I want to go again on that one, because we have to include it. We have to include that stuff. I don't know if you said that or not, but anyhow, I'll say you did.
I just did, yes.
Yeah, okay. That means that we're trying to do something. We're trying to include it, but I'm not saying trying to include it, because we were just saying attune with wholeness, and that's just a softening where it's not that interesting whether it's here or not, and then it's not really trying to include it to get somewhere or trying to exclude it to get somewhere into a purer state. It's just like, the whole game just kind of, you're attuning. It's like an attunement with what I call is there's no needs, because you're already whole. And basically, okay, let me just go to the metaphor then.
Yeah.
Basically, that is kind of a play. You're just playing at it. And so I think that actually the best way to approach any kind of spiritual studies is to say, okay, number one, preamble. This is a play. This is not a serious business. And if you want a serious business, please go out and get a job and be a CEO somewhere. But if you want to come here and we play together, and that's how we do it, And right away you're set an attitude that's already aligned and attuned with acceptance. You're playing a game, and sometimes, you got rules, and sometimes you go to jail and don't pass go and don't collect $200. That's part of the game, and sometimes you get it, and that's it, and so then, I just believe in kind of setting the attitude now, and the attitude is either stress-based or it's somehow playfulness, and which leads to happiness and joy, and you can have all those moments, But if you're just kind of mixing those all together and say, well, every once in a while from stress and fear and worry, who knows, maybe we'll just fall over and be joyful, It's not very likely,
Yeah, I'm with you. The thing is, what I find conducive, or at least I try to talk about it, is, okay, so if I tell you relaxation and attunement is a good thing, and that's what we're looking for, that's a good state. And then the next thing that comes up really is like, how do I do it? How do I attune?
Start to play.
Start to play, okay.
You did that when you were a kid, You did that when you were a kid.
What if I can't play?
Okay, well then let's just watch people that are playing. Go help kids or something like that, or
and then I go out. But if I just want to be with myself and see how the process goes, here's something that sometimes I recommend. Okay, so we're talking about attunement, and attunement feels like a nice thing to be in. And I'm struggling a little bit with it. I can't attune. It sounds good, and I can see what you're saying, and it just feels good, and I like the idea, but it's not happening for me. And one approach is like, okay, what stops you from being here? What stops this attunement with the moment now? And then you start a process of self-inquiry. I like self-inquiry. It's not serious, but it's something.
It could be, though. It could be.
It could turn into a serious business, yes.
But then
you have a good teacher that can remind you, look, it's not so serious, but keep looking at yourself. Keep looking at what's going on there with you. Because it's here. The buck stops here. This is where the thing is. This is where it's going to transform or not transform, relax or not relax. In this idea of I am me, and I'm thinking, and I'm doing, or I'm not doing. It is here. So if it is here, why not just have a look and stop here for a little bit and go, let me become interesting about this, movement here. Now I'm looking for attunement now, and something is getting me out of this attunement. What is it? then for me it becomes your own experience. Not because somebody's telling you that it's good to attune or how difficult it is or giving you the rules. You do this, you play, or you go out and play with your kids, or remember how you were a child. This is all great, but sometimes it doesn't really work. And it's like, hey, okay, I am having a difficulty here. What is the difficulty? And sometimes in the process of self-inquiry, that's been my experience. And I've seen it happening with a lot of people at the moment, that I'm working with or I'm not working with, that I can see it. That in the process of self-inquiry, something happens. Something opens.
Say a little bit how it looks or how it works, or how does it look from the outside or from the inside? How does that work or look?
You start, okay, let's say I'm doing some self-inquiry here. I want to be attuned in this moment here, and something is bothering me. I can notice I'm maybe not totally relaxed talking with you. I'm kind of a bit worried, how does my hair look or whatever. Yeah. And I go, oh, that's interesting. There's something that's taking me out of here. Yeah. How does my hair look? Okay, so I'm being caught up in some image here. So I've done some work before. Okay, notice. Okay, image. There's something that's taking me out of this moment here with Richard because I'm caught up in some image here. And do I really care about that? No, I don't. And I can come back here. Yeah. Noticing, you get the answer right away. If you've been doing a little bit of self-inquiry or a little bit of looking honest at yourself, you get the answer. And if you've done a little bit of self-understanding, a little bit of work, you will know you're not caught in that anymore. You've done that work.
So in a way, it's a restoring. It's a restoring. So then you notice that you have a story about appearance, and this is going to be on a film, and then you restore it and say, well, I just don't care about that really, because we're saying such good stuff, and then from that new story, then it relaxes, So you lost the interest in that, in following that thought, you lost thought and feeling, thought feeling. You lost the interest of that, and then you're just present again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's shorter than a story. A story still feels like, because they happen so quickly.
Instant story.
Like, boom, boom. Oh, okay, this is what's taking me away. Oh, okay. It can be anything. It can be a physical need, I'm still here talking to you and everything, and I'm noticing that I'm getting a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe I'm just thirsty. And I check in and I go, what's going on? I'm thirsty. So I just grab my water and drink a little bit. And then I'm here with you again. It's this moment by moment, minute by minute, just looking at myself and going, okay, if I want to be here with you, I want to be here with you 100% because it just feels so much nicer. It's just so much nicer to be here 100%. Or 99.9%, 100%.
Yeah, well, that's how life is. It's nicer, when you find it out.
It's nice here, so it's just interesting to notice what pulls me away from here. And that anyone can do. They don't need to be a spiritual seeker, a meditator, go to any satsang. You just look at something that you go, I'd like to be in that state right now. I'd like to feel happy. I'm lying on the beach here. Okay, it's winter. So anyway, you go to the Caribbean or somewhere, to get away from winter. I'm lying on the beach here and I want to watch these waves and I want to have a good time because on my holiday, I work the whole year. I have 2 weeks holiday. I want to feel great here. And then you experiment. You're feeling good for about a minute or 2 minutes and then something happens. And you do a little quick self-inquiry. So it's interesting. I was good 2 minutes ago. What the hell is going on now? What do I want that is not here? And then you see, if it's a physical need, maybe you want to shift. Maybe you can do something about it. No? If it's an emotion, a thought, or something that came from the past, you can revisit that for a few minutes. Yeah, don't fight with it. We can't fight what comes up. And you go, oh, that's interesting. That thought came up, and that's something that happened 3 years ago. But hey, I still want to be here and enjoy my beach and my waves. Does it make sense?
Of course, yeah. Inquiry can be marvelous, for sure. When you remember to do it, I suppose, or you remember to do it when you remember to do it.
Yeah, but then why forget it?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. There's something about then there is an indulgency. I was like, whatever, I am a seeker, but I just want to go on thinking my thoughts and doing my feelings and just being the same. I like the idea, but I'm actually not up for it.
Yeah. In yoga, they talk about mudras where they, you hold a certain hand positions or something like that, right?
Yes.
And somehow they can be symbolic for a different state of mind too, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so then
Yes.
mudra, for me, I like that mudra where I just go like this, clear the screen.
Nice. Yeah, works for you.
Yeah, I think that could be a really good mudra. If we go too fast, it don't work. Go slow.
Yeah, it would be kind of funny that you lie on the beach trying to be back in the moment, going like this.
They think there's a lot of flies over there.
It is a good one. Whatever works. No, whatever works.
Yeah, you just clear the screen, and then just boom, that's it. It could be a symbol, and you don't even have to go through the whole. Who is this that's doing this? Or I mean, just clear the screen.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing to perhaps then inquire what it works for me to clear my screen. You just described the way that it works for you. Huh? There's a hand movement. There's something that comes from here to there. Whoa, there's a visual. There's my body is involved, and boom, I'm back here. And we all kind of a little bit individual in what works for us.
Of course.
So that would be a good one to go, okay, what works for me to clear my screen so I can be here and pursue this moment of happiness, contentment, something that I want to hold on to it a little bit longer. Yeah. Just as a play, like you said. Why not? Got to do something.
Well, if you clear the screen once in a while, you can notice there's a screen, And so then noticing that there's a screen, you can start actually watching it and see things come up, and these are tempting thought feelings. And then you say, well, I go with it? Man, maybe I'll just stay here for now. And noticing that really going with any thought is actually a separation. It's like, no matter which one you go with, you're leaving this moment and leaving your body and leaving whoever you're in front of, And it's something about maybe there's a capacity to hold that. There is a yoga thing maybe. I used to deny it because I used to think, why do you have to prepare? But I mean, maybe there is a thing where we can't really hold this presence or this state. We don't, somehow it seems like we don't have the capacity, it's, okay, let me say this. I'll set up another argument,
Okay.
It seems like it's way easier to be tense, and to be angry and stuff, because than it is to be in loving and openness, because tension is doing something, and we're used to doing something, and openness is just like doing nothing, and we're not used to doing nothing,
Yeah, but then there's something else that happens here, a body that is contracted, or a heart that is shut down or in tension is doing that for a reason. There is a reason. We don't just decide to get tense.
Well, I mean, you don't know if the reason is separate, because it's again like when I was saying,
what happens is just to follow this a little bit. It's easier to be open. What sometimes happens very often is that when you are in a state of openness or something sort of relaxes, things that were in there that made the shutdown happens in the first place surfaces again. So, oops, that's shut down. So it is interesting to know that, just to know that that's there. You don't need to do anything about going 20 years of therapy to sort out every single thing that made you shut down in your life. Right? But just to notice that sometimes we are in this state of openness. You can be in a yoga posture, in Shavasana, or in a meditation retreat, and you're all open and feeling really great because you feel safe and you gave yourself that time. And then suddenly it's like there is this impulse, this need to shut down again because something is arising that is very uncomfortable. So
okay,
that's that's important to know.
That's a really good. That's a good thing to notice. A really good thing to notice. Maybe I'm driving there, but let's see. Let me take another round on it again and see if that's where I'm really driving to, because I think that people have a feeling like that anger and I'll just stay with anger for now, but I know there's a bunch of them. These kind of energies are more like real life is, because you can really let them go, and you could go to the max with anger and aggression and like being upset with somebody. Upset, let's say, has got a lot of power to it, and it seems like, at least, especially I would say for men, anyhow. Even a teaspoonful of love feels like, oh, that's great, that's so good. But they can't really just open into that. Maybe women can with bhakti gurus or something. They can just open into love and just be there huge, and just have that energy be as strong as the hate energy in some other people, Not that they would have a hate energy, but I mean, hate can really go really strong because it seems like closing down can be something that we really know how to do, and somehow opening up, there's no really no benchmark of how far to go with it, and so you get a teaspoonful of love and you just think, oh, that's great. You put it in your pocket and walk off, and leave it. You don't really let it just open up completely wild. And so then there's a belief that there's more energy with on the dark side than there is on the light side. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you really look at how life is on this planet here, yeah, it's not so safe to run around open. Something happens that is like, whoa, if I'm really open and I can take this, give me the teaspoon of love and then give me a plate and then give me a whole room full of it. And you're going to be so loved up. And then you go up there and it's like, whoa, how can I contain this? Then for me, we're getting close to containment.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How can we contain this? Now, I'm not so sure that you get hurt because you're open. If you're really open, you don't get hurt at all because it just goes right through you. But the way we attack it and the way we embody it.
Hang on a second, because what actually caused, I actually believe that people come to this planet open. Yeah. We are born open, and something happens that starts the shutdown system. And that something is valid in terms of understanding. Why do we run around shut down? It's important to understand that.
Okay, tell me.
We didn't make it. We didn't invent it.
Tell me.
I don't have the truth here, but that's this process of ego formation. When I started working, we used to, I study psychology as well, and I'm a big Jung fan. Yeah. So we had this understanding that by 7 years old, the ego, the personality structure, it was formed. The more studies we're doing now, the more, I'm also involved in the attachment, wounds that happen, healing early attachment bonding. It's like 9 months old. Your ego, your personality structure has formed its shape. So it's like, wow, it's amazing. We really have no choice over this here. Yeah? We take a body, we come here by 9 months old, by 3 years old, the door is shut, it's done. You've got your personality, you've got an ego. You've got to have to deal with it for the rest of your life. It's there. And that ego, what is ego, really? I don't like the word ego so much. I often try and use personality structure. That personality structure was put into place because you couldn't remain this, open, vulnerable, happy little baby. Yeah, because something happened that took you out of there. Something hurt.
Well, okay, now that's the kind of like saying that you did it because something hurt, and so you did it, because otherwise, who cares if you were hurt or not, if you didn't do it.
But the process of ego formation, Richard, can happen on physical needs, and it happens quite often. Yeah? On physical needs, you're a baby, you're lying on, in your cot there, and you're hungry, and mom is late. And there is no food. Yeah. And you cry for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on how sensitive you are. The food isn't there and you go, my God, I'm lost. This is it. I'm here. There's going to be no food coming for the rest of my life and I will die. This is how the baby actually experiences that 10 minutes. So is that the baby's doing? No, it happens. It's
no. Yeah, but of course, the baby doesn't have any abstractions about I'll die. It just the hunger. It's just the hunger.
We're grown-up babies. We're grown-up babies.
No, yeah, I know. Okay, I'll go for that too. But let me just say this: how about what we said before? Because we said I said that we imitate, and then I meant by that we also reflect, or like there's a resonance. So then we grow up in a resonance that's individual. And so then our ego is instant, 9 months or even 9 days. I mean, it's pretty much like we're in that resonance of our parents and grandparents and the people who live on our block and our town and our city. And we just grow up in it. And a lot of people have traced back generations and generations in family units and found really similar thought feeling patterns and exclusion, being a kid is excluded or something, and there was somebody that was unresolved in generations ago and that keeps showing up every generation. Somebody takes that vibe on, and so then I don't know, egos form, but it doesn't necessarily mean that egos it's a job that we have to do just so we can survive, because being open is dangerous. I don't think that's a
No, I didn't imply that. I hope it didn't sound like that, because I didn't imply that at all. Yeah. But what I find is important, I just find it important to have an understanding of what is this that we're trying to get away from. What is this? Where did it come from? Theoretically, even if it's a theory.
Yeah, tell me, what is it? Tell me again.
Like, you know,
tell me again, what is this, and what are we trying to get away from?
You know, the thing that I hear the most is like, you know, I don't like this part and that part of myself. I don't want those things to be there. I want to get rid of it. I don't like when I'm angry. We'll talk about anger. I don't like to create a conflict. I don't want all this. So what is this that we're trying to get away from? Something that is there that we haven't started in the first place. Yeah. And now we think that then I can get rid of it. It's none of your business. You didn't put it there. So you can just like, oh, okay, well, I have this and I have that. Okay, yes, I have anger, but I also have some sweetness, you know, and I just want the sweetness. Did I put the sweetness in me? No. As much as the anger. Yeah. But I want to get rid of that one. And the sweetness I want to keep, and I think I can. You know? And the anger, I just go, no, this is like wrong. But for me, what happens to understand that if I look at the beginning or just this body here, then perhaps, you know, the psychological understanding of ego formation, then I have no, you know, none of these was, you know, my doing. Yeah. Who am I now to think, okay, I can get rid of that one? This I don't want anymore. And then I'm going to do some spiritual seeking, and they'll go to some satsang and receive some whatever. Yeah. And then that part of me is that tomorrow morning I get up, I won't be angry ever again, ever have a fight with my wife. So what is this we're trying to get away from? This like parts, not parts of me I love, parts of me I hate.
Very well spoken. Very well spoken.
I think it's just one aspect of it, because when we start digging, then the goalpost changes. But the most that I hear, because I said to I work with beginners, the most I hear is this: I don't want this part of me. And in a funny way, in a very interesting twist of fate here, actually, I think spirituality is also creating that negation of certain very normal human emotional states. Yeah? I mean, I love Tibet. I think Buddhism is a nice religion. Yeah. But there is a lot of like, whoa, we've all got to be compassionate now. Compassion has to run too, because if you're not a compassionate person, then something is wrong. You're not spiritual. And then you get up one morning and you're in a bad mood, you're having, I don't know, hormonals, or you got kicked out of your job and you're not feeling that compassionate. And you spend a week not feeling compassionate, and then you beat yourself up because you're not spiritual anymore. But it's another, it's like there's something also happening. I notice, I just see it all the time. That spirituality is also helping to create this idea. There's parts of me that are okay, parts of me that are not okay. And what do I do to get rid of the ones that are not okay?
That's exactly where I was coming from. I was taking it on as my generation and the older teachings and stuff, and the anxiety-based seeking. And it's still there. So that's anxiety-based Buddhism. And so then, it's take it for what it's worth, give it a grain of salt and say, I don't need it. I'm not going to do the anxiety-based Buddhism or anything else, So then that's what I'm saying is that that's the preamble, is this is a play. And if you're not playing, then you're not, you're probably just enjoying suffering too much. So go for it.
I like that. I like what you just said, because I really agree with you there, because I find that suffering is really mostly the engine room for transformation. Yeah. Somehow suffering gets to a point that you just go, God, this is enough. I can't do this anymore. This is too much. This is silly. This is stupid. I'm wrecking my life, or I'm wrecking my relationship. So this isn't working. And often what I find, there's a lot of dabbling and looking and interest and curiosity in spirituality. But if the awareness of suffering isn't to a point, it remains a curious thing, another shopping that you do. There's something
Okay.
about knowing very clearly, very, very, very intimately, nah, that run around with this automatic pilot of suffering, of behavior, of conditioning, on everything. It's just like, God, I just can't do this anymore.
That reminds me of like a million teachers, but I'm trying to say like what's beyond that because like it seems like that's okay. Let's let everyone suffer a lot, and then when they pop, we'll scoop them up into spiritual seeking, and then they'll be ready. And that's the whole
No, no,
that's the whole readiness theory. But the world is not elastic enough for everybody to suffer that way like they used to.
no, but it's not. It is not. I'm not talking about big suffering or anything. It's just this awareness. This attunement. This knowing. Yeah, that you just want something that is so. Yeah, it keeps slipping away from you.
Yeah, but
That's
because
enough.
that's because
It's
there's
enough to
nothing there.
notice
It's
that.
it's there is no it. That that's a figment. That there's no it that slips away. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
but you're only gonna find out that there is no it that slips away when you really keep looking for that it.
Oh yeah, maybe or maybe not, but that's the suffering path, right? In other words, because we were talking about the young kids, okay, the 20-year-olds
Yeah.
and stuff, and they haven't had time to. Well, they could say, "Oh, I suffered so much," and then you say, "Well, when?" And blah blah, blah from 18 to 19 and a half, I think, "Oh, is that it?" And then
Why
they
not?
saw,
You know.
then they saw it, But I mean, they don't.
But if you look and if you ask the question, Richard, there was a moment of like, I want to go from here to there. There's an openness to that. It's very rare that you don't encounter that on a story, no? About someone that feels that shifted from here to there.
Well, I mean, that's
From
the
there
whole
to here.
life. That's the whole, at least the whole Western life is all about going from here to there, whether it's spiritual or just going to
Yeah.
school and getting a job or just going from a job and getting a promotion. I mean, or buying a bigger house or, it's always about here to there. So, I mean, why to say that that's special about spiritualism? It's not really.
No, exactly. No, exactly. I mean, there are some cases that I heard of that it happens quite easily, no, quite simple.
Right.
Things are just, yeah.
Get clear
But
really
the
easy.
majority, yeah, but the majority,
I know.
at least the people I'm encountering, yeah, it spends, sometimes a few years and months and, years or decades.
Yeah. No, I totally
In,
agree that that's how it appears, But if we start
here and
talking
there.
that way, it sounds like that's a vital step to it. And I'm saying
No,
it's not a
no,
vital step,
not a vital step, but I actually don't, I mean, this is what I observe. I may be wrong. Yeah. But the commitment to stay on this looking, yeah, and just going, okay, let's just keep observing here, this curiosity. I find that curiosity is an incredibly important step or quality, no, that has to be, because otherwise it's just, you forget about it. Yeah, you go to a satsang and you feel good for like 2 hours, listening to that person. Next morning you get up, go get in your car and go to work. It's gone.
Yeah. Okay, let's be really clear, because I was just going to jump on this one, and you've just diffused it, but because you said curiosity is incredibly important, I think you just said. But before you were saying people are just curious, it's just a spiritual shopping market and stuff like that. That's those guys, those sufferers always say that, and then the ones that say you got to want it and you got to be serious business and stuff like that. And I think that curiosity is probably way more important than being serious. Curiosity means you're interested, and whether you're trying to get from here to there, you're not trying to get from here to there too much. And so then
it's, yeah, no, sure, but the curiosity with the commitment to it, nah? Because to be curious, you can be curious for 5 minutes, nah? And you can be curious for 5 years. And that's the difference for me. If you're curious for 5 minutes,
well, I mean, it depends. There's so much to it, because you're curious about what? Everybody's curious forever about themselves and how life works. That's what all life is about, and all language is about how life works. Everybody's curious about that. But not everybody is curious about Advaita Vedanta, or some kind of like spiritual jargon or Eastern philosophy, or like somebody is saying there's nothing here, nothing's happening, nothing ever happened. You're nobody, there's no you. Do self-inquiry, who am I, who am I, who am I, who am I? They're not interested in that for more than 5 minutes for sure, because that is all baloney, total baloney, I mean, taken for
And
what it
that's
was, maybe,
yeah,
I mean,
that's
it had some
it.
validity, but taken for what it is, it's like zero, Why put that on anybody?
Yeah, and that's why it's lovely the way things are moving at the moment, no? Because you don't need to be interested in Advaita Vedanta to stumble across some pointers that might open something up inside of you, which is already there. I mean, you know that, you talk to enough people, they all we all say the same thing. Yeah? Whatever you're looking for is already there. It's nothing, there's nowhere to go, there's nothing, there's not even openness to happen. It's all already there. It's all great and said and done, but then we spend hours and hours, and we do talk shows, and we do television, we write books,
on.
and we put retreats together, all of these, to create perhaps a device or pointers or something that at some point it might just go, whoo, there you go. Yeah. Oh, I get it. I recently had a person that I've been working with for 5 years, and she went and did some, process, and it was really interesting for her. And it really happened in that split moment. Now, somebody said something and went, boom. Now, the way she describes is very beautiful. She said, it hit my heart and my mind went numb. It's just very simple, very human. She said, it hit my heart, and it was a physical sensation for her. She went, whoa. And suddenly the mind was mushy. There's no way she could follow a thought anymore. It was like, boom. Nah? Beautiful. Beautiful. It can happen. It is like that. But and then we do all this talk for...
I know, what can I say? Girls are so lucky, Can it ever happen to a guy like that?
Absolutely. No, girls are so lucky. Well, because it has to do with the heart. No. Girls aren't more lucky than men, or men more lucky than, there is even this tendency of, the Jnani path and the Bhakti path. They really cross. Yeah? I can't even, you can't really say, okay, I'm a Jnani, or, I'm interested in knowledge and I do my path through knowledge, or I'm a Bhakti and I'm a devotion, and, they just cross, because, Bhaktis aren't stupid either. Yeah, they have questions. They will question at some point. And then what happens then? You just cross, to the path of Jnani. Yeah. And the Jnani is going on their path, like full on questioning, and a lot of, mind and knowledge base, and really like thirst. Jnanis are beautiful because they have such a thirst of knowing more. And suddenly something happens, boom, they are on the ground. They surrender to something. It may be the teacher, or maybe the whatever. Yeah, they're interested in the moment. Boom, surrender is there. So they cross, and things are just... It's beautiful. It's just a nice journey. I mean, we talk about it, and God knows where we go when we're talking about these things.
I don't know. We have a lot of fun, though. We talk about it. You're trying to tell my life story now.
What I love about this is that, as we talk, and I know, some other people may watch this or not, or I don't know how this really works. Right? But I mean, this is let's say the motivation, or something that keeps me interested in doing what I do. As you maybe are sharing some idea or something, maybe something can happen. That the recognition, there's attunement in the other just kicks in, and then it's over and it's done.
Yeah, but basically,
so at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter much what you say.
All we're doing is we're putting this on the table, just throwing this up on the table and saying, everybody, check it out. Here it is. Get your knife and fork, poke around in there, see if there's anything to eat. We don't know.
Yeah. But isn't that great? I mean, isn't that beautiful? To be able to do these and just have this realm of... It's just the same thing. It's like opening a shop. You can open a shop and sell shoes and bags and clothes and everything, and you can open a shop and you go, oh, this is this idea, and that's that idea, and how about this one, and maybe in buying one of them, something can happen, and they go, oh, maybe I don't need another shoe, maybe this is the one, it fits me.
Yeah, that's the best. Is like they notice there's so damn many thoughts, they don't need any of them. They just walk out.
That's
Yeah, I
right.
look at them all over, and then for me, that would be ideal, right?
That's it. That's it. Yeah, great.
We said
Well,
it all, Collie. What what remains? I don't know.
we went everywhere. But like because I go with you. I have I have this. You see, I don't have an agenda. No, like somehow I have to. Wherever you go, then I want to go there. So if you use a word, I want to go there with you and see what's in there. Huh? So there isn't this. Sometimes when I started to talk, I would come out of a little introduction or talk or something, and I was wondering, it's like, where did that go? Was that a beginning, a middle, and end? Did we actually get something out of it? And I would ask people, how was it for you? So it was great, and this thing that was so good, and I understood so much, and I went, all right then, so the job is done. Without this, trying to bring it all to one place. But it's lovely. I just. Yeah, I think honestly, I'm not just saying that. I really honestly think what you're doing in putting all this people out there and yourself and putting your experience into and letting people watch and letting people be part of this in their own way, at home without having to go anywhere. I think it's brilliant. I think it's very beautiful what you're doing. It's I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Really.
I'm always willing to let it go to the next step, whatever that would be, and I don't have a clue what it would be. But somehow I want to get, basically I had this idea I wanted to relanguage. And in order to
Oh,
relanguage, I had to talk to a different audience. And maybe that's where I am now. I'm kind of searching around to get away from seekers in a way, because seekers, it seems like whenever you put the same ingredients together in a pot, you get the same soup,
yeah.
right?
You mean real language for the people watching?
Broaden it, have something broaden and not have any kind of things there that put people off and just say, and then try to blame it on them and say, well, you're not even curious for more than 5 minutes. I mean, I just,
not at all. Not at all.
yeah,
No,
I
no,
just try to make a
no.
language that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, beginners, I mean, as I said to you, I work with a lot of beginners and I love that because there's something very, that curiosity. And I really didn't mean to imply you've got to be curious for 5 years. Yeah. But there is something about steadfastness, not just like a certain commitment to something in yourself. I actually really think that is valuable and it is really important. It's like anything. You're trying to perhaps, it's another way of saying, develop a healthier relationship with you. And if you look at any outside relationship, any relationship with anybody, you got to put in the hours, the years, the months. Oh, I would love to have a great marriage, but I don't want to spend more than 3 months with anybody. But when I'm 60 years old, I like to be sitting around the fire with all my grandchildren around. But don't tell me I have to be more than 3 months with anyone. So how are you gonna make that happen? Yeah? So it's a relationship with yourself. Then put in the hours, put in the interest. Keep the relationship alive.
Yeah, I guess
Like
I'm
that.
just saying that maybe let me see if it's not up to me to make this investigation so damn interesting that nobody could help but stay with it for 5 years, But if it's pretty boring, then I excuse them in 5 minutes,
And
In other words, the rubber has to hit the road. Something has to happen in your life. If it doesn't reflect in your life, screw it. I wouldn't be interested either.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. And who knows what happens, and I can see now, like sometimes, people came to a retreat with me like 10 years ago. Yeah. And I thought, oh yeah, that was nice, that was interesting, it was a good week and everything, and then it's gone. Yeah. And suddenly they come back, with a question or with another, whatever. It's like, wow, yeah, you don't know what can hit you in this space. That's what I said. I think it's so great what you're doing because in this space of an hour that people, you don't know what's being planted there, what's happening in there. We see so little. We have this idea that we know what's going on. We have no clue. There is so much happening there that we have such a limited idea. But it's lovely. It's a big play. I like your word. It is a nice play. And yeah, my wish is that we all play more and often. Life is too serious as it is. We don't need to make it more serious with the spiritual path. No, honestly, I really feel this way. I spent 14 years in India. So when I came back to the West, I was amazed because I went, oh my God, yes. I mean, how can you not be incredibly stressful? Just to bring the kids up or to have a job and just, pay the insurance, the car insurance and the house insurance and take the kids to school. I mean, the demands of a normal life in the West, just to have your basics covered, it's intense on anybody body. Huh? So it's like, whoa, anyone that managed to get a little bit of relaxation in this hustle and bustle of staying alive, yeah, I think they're doing well. I really think they're doing really good. I was amazed, I was really, God, Jesus, the amount of input and the whole, oh God, I take my hat off with people that actually manage to have a normal life and not have a heart attack by the time they're 50. I think they're already doing good, And in between, if there is a something arises that you want to get more intimate with yourself, or it's beautiful too. And yes, go out there and play. There's a lot of children in the playground. No?
Yes.
This is great. It was fun.
This is Kali. This is Kali. We thank her immensely.
Great, Rich. I wish you all the best. Have a great, may this year really bring us whatever our hearts desire, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Spiritual or non-spiritual, may the openness and the light that is around reaches us there. The heart is beautiful.
I'm just feeling a huge yes, so I think 2011 will be a whopper.
What, to explain that to me?
No, I said I feel a huge yes. And so
yes.
2011 might just be a really giant.
Yeah, that'll be it. Whatever comes, let's just stay open for it. And that's the thing, it's back to this openness, openness to what is, openness to what's there, not shying away from things. I think the world is actually getting very courageous. I'm also noticing that maybe it could even be a byproduct of having to fight so hard just to have a normal life. There is a lot of courage happening. I think when I look back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, there was a lot of fear. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of that. A fear of this and fear of that. There was so much talk about fear. Yeah? I think there's more of a courage, something coming up that is like, well, I can face that. I can look at that.
Right. Maybe what we're saying is like the purpose of life or the meaning of life is facing into the wind and not just trying to build shelters and avoiding the wind of your life, If you face it, that's our message, basically, face into the wind. And it takes courage, and you got it.
Yeah. So let us all tap into that wave of courage and the wind and everything and sail through wherever we have to go.
All right, Kali. Thanks so much. Thanks for this time. And thanks for your heart, your beautiful heart.
Pleasure.
Okay, everybody, thanks for coming. That was our introduction to Kali. So we'll see where we go from here. We'll keep on our trail. So thanks for coming, and bye to you also. So thanks.
Sweet.